Here we go. We got people hopping on. Our participant number is creeping up there. Welcome, welcome, everyone.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. Hope you're having a great day. What is it today? The 17th of November, 2020. It's a beautiful day. This is the day the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. No matter what's going on around you, you can find a reason to rejoice, right? All right. Amen. Have a little church service here. Well, hey, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, wherever you are. And I'm Joe Barton with Barton Publishing, Barton Nutrition, and joined here with Dr. Scott Saunders, MD, and Leslie Prinz as well, running the controls here. I have a fun, quick little story to tell about Leslie and her husband that I thought would be fun to share. So the other day, let's see, I think, where was I? I don't know. I was driving around. I think it was after lunch. And you know, it's one of those lunches where you kind of wanted dessert, but nobody else got dessert. And so it's like, well, all right, no dessert. And I went and got gas. And then I'm like, McDonald's, they have ice cream, don't they? And I hadn't been to McDonald's in quite a while. So I got my gas, pulled around to the drive-in, ordered a hot fudge sundae and a coffee, you know. And who do I see pull up next to me? Well, I didn't actually see them, but they pulled up next to me in the drive up, and they're just like just kind of, I think they might have been calling it for me. But I didn't notice them for a good minute or two until finally Tyler yelled out, "Joe Barton!" And I look over like, "Oh, hi, Tyler." It's like I kind of felt like a kid getting caught with his hand in the cookie jar kind of thing, you know?
I'm just glad we weren't in line behind you.
Well, you probably would have been, but then you realize it was me, right? And
You're right. That is what happened.
So that was fun. Now I've been getting harassed ever since then, but it was a good hot fudge sundae, I got to say. But you know, I had to take my CinnaChroma right after that. But anyways, thought I'd share a fun little story. Welcome, everybody. Today we're going to get into talking about type 2 with a special topic of cholesterol. Now, cholesterol is something that we've talked about. Dr. Saunders has written about and talked about in the past as basically being one of the most popular, I guess, myths. There's a lot of myths around cholesterol, and a lot of people feel like they get all nervous if they have high cholesterol or whatever, and the doctors tell them various things. And Dr. Saunders is here to set the record straight. So let's get started. Let's hand it off over to Dr. Saunders here. Take it away, Scott.
Okay, well, first of all, we were talking about, before we jumped on, a little update on COVID-19 and how that's going. The CDC always puts out, every year, they keep statistics on influenza-like illness. And that means any infections, anybody goes to the hospital for something like influenza, fever, chills, sweats, aches all over, all of those symptoms that there's a bunch of different viruses can cause it, coronavirus being one of them. That's the current pandemic. But what a lot of people don't know is that every year we have a pandemic, and we always have. And if you want to look at the graph, it's kind of difficult to see, but if you look on the CDC, it's called ILI weekly. Now, ILI means influenza-like illness. And the CDC puts this out, and this is 7 out of the last 10 years, and I'm going to kind of show it. That graph right there is all 7 of the last 10 years, and you can see how the green one with the 3 spikes is the 2019-2020. And if you look way down at the lower left-hand corner where the red triangles are, that's where we are currently. And so when everybody says, "Oh no, it's going up," yes, it's going up. Yes, it does it every year. See, and if you look, last year was the same as the year before, was the same as the year before. And they're all a little different. Last year was a little more than the previous year, but 2 years ago, they even had a higher spike than we did last year. So all influenza-like illnesses included in that, meaning flu, respiratory syncytial virus, coronavirus, rhinovirus, So the current pandemic is included in that statistic. And these are only sick people. They're not just testing, because when you get tested, you have to know that about 10% of the time, the test is going to be a false positive if you test positive. So if somebody wants to raise the number of positive cases, all they have to do is do more tests, because you're going to get about 10 for every 100 tests you do. You're going to get 10 people that are false positive, and you're going to go, oh my gosh, the tests are way up, and everybody's testing positive. Well, you've just done more tests. That's all it is. And I've seen that happen in several places where they, they say, oh, you don't have to wear masks and you can get together in bigger groups. And then they start testing a whole bunch of people and go, oh my gosh, all the numbers have gone way up. Well, not numbers of sick people have not gone up. Only the numbers of false positive tests have gone up. So just to clarify, that's what's happening in our world right now.
So we don't have to panic?
No, don't panic, for heaven's sakes. You know what? Don't watch TV. Just look at the CDC, the actual real numbers, and you'll go, oh, okay, this is a normal flu season. This happened last year, happened the year before. It was even bigger in 2017 than it was last year, and everybody's freaking out over it. And that's just media hype. The reality is so much more normal. It's actually normal. Yeah,
what really annoys me about this whole thing, and I talk about this a lot, but it's like all we hear about is wear your mask, because that's what the science tells us, which is not true, and social distance. So cancel Thanksgiving, cancel Christmas, and they say nothing about boosting your immune system with vitamin D and vitamin C and zinc and all these other things. And it's like, why don't we actually educate people how to stay healthier and improve their chances? So it's frustrating, but that's what we're here for, I guess. So.
Yeah. Well, even Fauci said we should do vitamin D.
Yeah.
I'm just hearing a lot of different doctors and nurses with conflicting information. I think that's the frustrating part too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying go to the source of information. People's interpretations, you're going to have a million different interpretations. Go to the source, and the statistic that I showed you, it's right there on the CDC website, and they'll show you exactly what the reality is, and then you don't have to worry about all the crazy things people are trying to bring fear to the world, and it's not really a big deal. It's really a normal thing.
I posted a link to that in the chat if anybody wants to visit that later. So.
Oh, good. Okay, so cholesterol. Oh my gosh, talk about hoaxes. Were we talking about a hoax? I think we were. Anyway, so cholesterol is a very interesting normal fat. It's actually a lipoprotein. It's a protein with a lipid attached to it in the body, and it's very normal. In fact, we need cholesterol. If I were to take all the cholesterol out of your body, you would die faster than if I took all the oxygen out of your body.
Wow.
Cholesterol's that important. Your brain is made out of cholesterol. Your cells are made out of cholesterol. They don't work if you don't have cholesterol. And all of your hormones, all your steroid hormones, including estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, cortisol, aldosterone, vitamin D, they're all made out of cholesterol. And if you don't have cholesterol, then you don't make those hormones and you don't have hormonal support. And the other thing you can't do if you don't have cholesterol is you can't make new cells. So you can't repair your brain, you can't repair your cells, you can't fix things if you don't have cholesterol. You need cholesterol. Everybody needs cholesterol. In fact, more cholesterol is better. And there's plenty of research to show that. So, but what happened was a long time ago in the galaxy far, far away, in Massachusetts, they started what's called the Framingham Heart Study. And somebody had a drug that would inhibit the enzyme that made cholesterol, so it would lower cholesterol. So they said, we need a confirmation bias of some research that shows that cholesterol is bad for you. And so they did it. If you set it up right, you can do that. And so they followed cholesterol, and they said, oh, heart disease is increased when your cholesterol is high. Strokes, nope, strokes not, but heart disease when increases when your cholesterol is high. Okay, so then they said, well, in order to lower your risk of heart disease, you need to lower your cholesterol. Well, the problem with that is as you lower your cholesterol, everything else gets worse. Then you actually increase your risk of dying. I think I have statistic. Okay, so just look at one of these. This one right here. So this is 45 to 54-year-olds, and that's this test right here. It's the level of cholesterol compared to the death rate. So death rate goes up as your cholesterol goes down.
Oh wow!
Cholesterol goes down, death goes up. That's what that shows. And this is the largest study ever done, and it was done on 12.8 million adults, and they followed them over time, and they followed what their death rate was according to their cholesterol level.
Wow.
So if you look at those statistics and you go back to the old ones and you look at their actual numbers, they go, oh yeah, it was always there. All the studies have shown that. They just didn't put that in their report. If you go to the raw numbers, you'll see same thing, lower cholesterol, higher death rate. But you'll see it's a J curve. They call it a J curve. It's actually more like a U. There is an optimal place to be, and it's 220, no matter what age you are, except for young women, it probably doesn't matter. You could be really low and they don't have any issues. But by the time people get into their 40s and 50s, it's very clear there is an optimal number, and the lowest death rate is 220. At 220,
is that the total cholesterol, LDL,
total.
HDL? Okay.
Total cholesterol. Yeah. So the total cholesterol of 220 is clearly the optimum place to be. So when you get tested and they say, well, it should be under 200, then you know that under 200, it raises your death risk just a little bit. If you're under 120, your death risk is 3 times the average person's death risk. So, you don't want to be lower. It's not better, as they will probably tell you. The problem with this is this that I was just showing you was from last year. It's really new, and it was printed in a science journal called Nature, not a medical journal. So because it's not in a medical journal, doctors won't see it for usually 30 years. That information will become part of medical training in about 30 years. And that's 30 years. Anywhere from 20 to 50 years, the science becomes clinical. So it takes that long to get into the medical schools. And then you have all the doctors who learned it the old way, who've been practicing medicine for 10 and 15 and 20 years, who are still doing it the old way. And so it takes a long time to make any changes. But you guys can know in advance that cholesterol, there is an optimum level of cholesterol, and it's right around 220. So when you have so get out your old tests and look and go, hey, I'm 220, and my doctor said I was too high. Put me on a medication. And what does the medication do? It lowers your cholesterol. Well, what does that do? Well, they did a really cool study on this, and they said, what happens to testosterone levels if you give a man a cholesterol lowering medication? And what happens is, as the cholesterol drops, the testosterone follows it perfectly right down. And so you have less hormone support when you have lower cholesterol. So you have to be really careful with where your cholesterol levels are, and you don't want them too low because you will age faster if you have lower cholesterol, and you will die younger if you have lower cholesterol than if you have high cholesterol. So if you looked at the graph, you can see that there is a sort of a J-shaped curve. The blue is males and the pink is females. And so you can see there is a difference there somewhat. But you look at the high cholesterol in the 300s way over here, and it's not nearly as bad as having 120, cholesterol, where your death rate is twice as high. So so looking at a number is not necessarily the best way to do it. So what do you do about cholesterol? Then you start like eating all the cholesterol you can, eating all the fat you can, so you can raise your cholesterol, get it up there, get your testosterone up, and be younger and healthier, and be able to repair your brain with all that cholesterol. Well, not necessarily. There's an optimum place to be, and the cholesterol levels are somewhat changeable over time. So what you want to do is have an optimum level of cholesterol for you. And the way to do that is to eat plenty of fiber. Fiber is something that takes the cholesterol, it's actually secondary bile acids, out of the circulation so they don't go back into your body. And also it'll prevent you from getting kidney stones and all of that. And then the cholesterol you make will be made into bile acids. As you don't need it anymore, you're wasting the stuff you're not using, will go back to your liver and be made into bile acids. And that'll help you digest your fats better. So a high fiber diet is really good for managing cholesterol. And I mean managing, not lowering necessarily. Just to keep it in a good range so that you have a good LDL, or your cholesterol that's not being used, that's not needed, can then be used for your digestion, to improve your digestion. So the other things is having enough niacin. A niacinamide, nicotinamide is it's a nutrient, it's a vitamin B3 is what it is. And what it does, it is essential for energy production. Your mitochondria require this nicotinamide. It's really important. And so people take niacin to raise their HDLs. And that's just the numbers part. But what it does is it improves the way your body uses energy. So it makes you more efficient at using energy. So it's not that you have to take niacin, it's just you have to be sure you're getting enough. So if you're getting enough green vegetables, you should get plenty of niacin in your food. It's not usually something that needs to be supplemented. Vitamin B3. Some people need it. In fact, they did a study, really interesting study on niacin in schizophrenia. And this was in Canada, where they were giving high doses of niacinamide to people with schizophrenia. And it was working. They were like getting better. They didn't have hallucinations anymore, and they felt better. And there was one guy who was so upset that he wasn't getting better, and the other people it was a mental hospital, were getting better, that he took all of the niacin. It was like 40 grams of niacin, and he got better. He actually improved on an extremely high dose of niacin.
Wow.
So
niacin smells kind of bad, doesn't it?
No, not niacin. B3, no, you wouldn't even notice the smell of that. It's the B2 that has that weird.
I was thinking my dad, I have a memory from my childhood walking past my dad's sock drawer, and I thought he said it was niacin in there that smelled. It brings back memories if I smell it, but maybe something like that. I don't know.
Just the socks.
Yeah, it might have been the socks.
Dr. Saunders, while you were talking about this, you mentioned that the high fiber diet is really good. What is an example of a high fiber diet, or what types of things are high in fiber?
Oh, easy. Fruits, vegetables, nuts and seeds, whole grains, beans, peas, lentils, legumes, uh, anything that grows is high in fiber.
Pencil.
And the things that are, what's that?
Pencils.
Pencils. Oh,
Yeah.
pencils are very fibrous. Yeah, yeah. In fact, there are some fiber supplements that essentially they put wood, it's a cellulose fiber. That's one fiber supplement. Yeah, I used to chew on paper. I used to eat paper.
And like, what's that popular fiber brand that's out there right now?
Like Metamucil.
Yeah, Metamucil. I don't think that's
Yeah.
good because it has a lot of sweeteners in it, artificial or regular.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's psyllium husks, and they put a lot of sugar in it. You can get the sugar-free one, and then they have sweeteners in it. I don't know. They do have the unsweetened psyllium husks that you can just put in juice or something and drink it down.
yeah.
That may work all right. Yeah, but fiber additives are okay, but it sure is best if you're eating fruit and vegetables on a regular basis and whole grains and beans, peas, lentils, and nuts and seeds. I wrote an article for Home Cures That Work on magnesium last week. And as I was doing research, I was like, oh, no wonder, we don't have enough magnesium because we don't have a staple food that we eat every day that has a lot of magnesium in it. It's in all of those things that I mentioned, all the nuts and seeds and anything green, and the things we eat just don't have magnesium. So fiber is found in anything that grows and unprocessed, because once they're processed, the first thing they take out is the fiber, right?
Mm-hmm. So can you talk about statins and when it's good to use them and when it maybe isn't good, or like what's the purpose of them?
Good. Okay, so I have recommended statins, I can remember 3 times in my 30-year career as a doctor of general medicine, of seeing tons of patients of different kinds and getting 99% of them off of statins. But there were definitely several cases that needed statins. So some people have a familial hypercholesterolemia, and they don't have a stop mechanism for making cholesterol, so they just make more and more and more. And it's kind of amazing when you draw their blood, and I've seen this because we used to draw blood in my office, where you draw the blood in the tube and you let the tube sit there and you pick it up a little while later, and all the fat has risen to the top, and like 50% of the blood is fat, and then the actual blood part, the serum and red blood cells are down here. They have a lot, and they do have issues that stem from that. And so this drug, the statin drugs, are great for that, and they're really useful, and they prevent problems, disability problems, strokes, heart attacks, and clogging of the arteries. So you know what? One guy just said, I just want to get off the statins. And I tried everything. We tried the super high fiber diet. Finally, after everything, it's like, dude, you just got to be taking statins. You just need to. That's it.
But for most people, it's overprescribed.
And consider that if they want you below, below 200, and they're going, ooh, 120, that's great. That's not great. And there are a lot of problems associated with taking statins when you don't need them. Things like Alzheimer's disease. Why? Well, because you can't repair your brain if you don't have cholesterol. Cholesterol, your brain's made out of cholesterol. You can't get new cells. You can't regenerate if you don't have cholesterol. So Alzheimer's is one dementia. There are several studies that indicate that. And then lowering your hormone levels. So you have lower hormone levels on statins. So I spoke with a cardiologist who said, that he thought statins should be just put in the water, like it should be part of your vitamin water or whatever you're drinking. Like everybody should be taking a statin all the time, because lowering cholesterol is so good and so important. But in reality, it's a toxin that causes dysfunction all over the body, and where it blocks cholesterol, it also causes dysfunction wherever the cholesterol is needed. So, because cholesterol, like I said, is an essential ingredient for life. It's without it, your cells can't even exist.
Can you talk about HDL and LDL and like the different numbers and like what is an optimal ratio to get to that 200 or 220?
Yeah. Okay. So HDL is called good cholesterol, and it's not that it's good. It's that if your ratio is higher in the HDL, that is less likely to deposit in your arteries. And LDL is low density lipids that tend to deposit, lipoproteins that tend to deposit in the arteries. So that's why they say LDL is the bad cholesterol and HDL is the good cholesterol. The bad cholesterol can get calcium attached to it, and then it's insoluble, and so it sticks. They tend to be more sticky, and it's kind of like soap scum. If you've ever in your shower had to clean off the soap scum, it's really hard. It really sticks, that stuff, you know, and you have to scrub and scrub and scrub to get that soap scum off. And that's similar to what LDL cholesterol is when it has the calcium attached to it. What's really interesting is you can get these clean shower sprays that you spray on your shower, you spray in your tub, and you just spray it every day. And it's a chelating agent called EDTA that holds on to the calcium, pulls the calcium off of the lipoprotein, and so it makes it water soluble again. Well, in this case, the lipid, the soap. When the calcium binds the soap, it makes it so it's not water soluble anymore, because it neutralizes the phosphorus or sulfate or whatever is on the end of the soap, and that makes it sticky because it can't dissolve in water anymore. And so the EDTA takes the calcium off, and then it can dissolve in water, and then you just rinse it down, and that's what that clean shower stuff is made of. Well, in your arteries, you can do a similar thing, taking the calcium out. And one of the ways to do that is with something called vitamin K. If any of you, those of you who have diabetes and you're taking the CinnaChroma supplement, we put vitamin K in it to balance the vitamin D, because the vitamin D helps you absorb calcium. But what do you do with that calcium? You need vitamin K to put it into your bones. Well, the vitamin K over time has been shown also to take the calcium out of your arteries, the calcium that makes the cholesterol sticky, take that off, and then that can help clean out your arteries, because the cholesterol is then no longer sticky. It's water soluble, and it can be flushed back into the liver where it belongs.
I didn't know that.
Made into bile acids.
Yeah. Well, hey, you mentioned CinnaChroma.
You didn't even know your CinnaChroma supplement could do all that.
I did not. So he's talking about this wonderful product here, our best-selling blood sugar support formula. Is that on the screen?
Yeah.
For everybody? Okay.
Not
so
focused.
CinnaChroma. And if you don't already have this, highly recommend it for everybody. You can get it at bartonwebinar.com. So that's, if you're watching this and wondering like, okay, where are these products you're talking about? Go to bartonwebinar.com and check out that page. That's where we have links to our YouTube recordings of all the previous webinars that we've done, links to where you can get your own diabetes solution kit right here, and links to our Barton nutrition products, which include CinnaChroma, and Turmeric BP is another good one, and Herbala, and healthy gut support, and we've got all sorts of them. So, but let's transition. So let's talk about inflammation and cholesterol, because I remember you talking about that connection in the past.
Good. Thank you. Yes. So a lot of research into cholesterol, everybody was always wondering, well, why do statins work at all? You know, why do they prevent cholesterol from sticking to the arteries? It just doesn't make any sense because it doesn't really, it shouldn't really work, but it does. And part of what it does is the way when it lowers hormones, it also lowers certain inflammatory mediators, they're called. And these inflammatory mediators also are made from cholesterol. And they are thromboxanes and interleukins and cyclooxygenase, various inflammatory mediators that are also decreased when you take these statin drugs. So the current theory is that statins work, decrease your risk of heart disease by lowering inflammation, because it's been shown that inflammation is really the long-term problem, not how high your cholesterol is. So you can have cholesterol, you know, in the 300s and have no issues at all. And I've seen people with cholesterol literally in the 300s, and then we do their like coronary calcium score and carotid arteries and look at their arteries. They're fine. They're clean, squeaky clean arteries. And it's like, what the heck, you know, with the cholesterol so high. And it works the other way too. You could have low cholesterol and have your arteries clogged with cholesterol. So it's not just the level of cholesterol, which was why everybody was scratching their heads on, you know, why does this work? You know, it doesn't seem to make a difference, but it does. And probably the reason is inflammation. So what's really interesting, when they started doing research on this, they did all kinds of inflammation for any reason at all. Even people that had gum disease and tooth decay were at higher risk for heart disease than people who didn't. So when they just compared the group that did compared to the group that didn't, heart disease was increased with any kind of inflammation. So something general like what Joe was just showing, the turmeric. Turmeric is really good at lowering inflammation. Turmeric doesn't just work in the on a spot where there's inflammation. It actually works in the genes to genetically to alter the way the expression of genes are that create inflammation. So it does lower inflammation in that way. In fact, there was one study on one type of cystic fibrosis where it would reverse the cystic fibrosis because it worked in the genes, in the DNA.
So it makes your genes fit better?
Makes what?
Makes your genes fit better?
Ojalá, we wish. So lowering inflammation is really important. How do you do that? Okay, this is really important for all of you with diabetes. Inflammation happens because of diabetes. So there's a syndrome that we call with insulin resistance, a fat belly, elevated blood pressure, and inflammation. This syndrome is fairly common. We call it metabolic syndrome. And the inflammation is brought about because of this metabolic problem, the problem with making energy. And the cellular distress causes inflammation because the cells are so full of sugar, they're ready to pop. And then so they created an inflammatory response. So one of the ways that's really important for people with diabetes to get rid of inflammation and lower their risk of heart disease is to, like with the Diabetes Solution Kit, reverse that process. Use up all the extra sugar in the cells by not eating any sugar. That's essentially what the program is, to be able to use up what you have stored so that your cells can work naturally again and work normally and make energy properly the way they used to. So your insulin can go down to normal so that you can have the normal variations in your metabolism the way life is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I think one of the things, the common themes here between cholesterol and metabolic syndrome and diabetes and all of that is just looking at the traditional medical system and how, sadly, most doctors just want to take and bolt on a drug onto your body as if that's going to fix the problem, but it really doesn't. It's basically treating symptoms. It's never getting to the root cause. And I love how, you call yourself a functional doctor, and that it really means you get to the root cause. And it's like if your car is going down the road and all of a sudden your check engine light comes on and something starts sputtering, you don't just put a piece of tape over your check engine light. You go and try to figure out, like, what is wrong with my car and fix it, and do that. So, and that's the same thing with our bodies. And so that's, we talked about statins and we talked about metformin and even insulin shots and things like that. It's not treating the root cause. And so looking for the common ways to treat disease and illness. And so, I mean, if you follow, so people that are watching this that have type 2 or trying to reverse it, if you have diabetes and you have high cholesterol or whatever, inflammation and all sorts of other things, by following phase 1 of the Diabetes Solution Kit program, you're going to be fixing all sorts of other problems, not just diabetes. So can you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, that's actually the body is not a separated systems. The systems are all integrated, and so everything works together. So if one thing isn't working, this is biblical in the Bible. If you have one member of the body that's not functional, the whole body is affected. Everybody. Every part of your body is affected by one thing that's not working. And that's exactly what this is. So the metabolic syndrome is not just diabetes. And so it's really unfortunate that they gave it that name. They should have given it a different name, a totally separate name instead of diabetes, because the sugar is only a small part of it. The cholesterol is a part of it. Inflammation's a part of it. And how you make energy generally is a part of it. So yeah, that's really important. All those, all the factors. So you fix one, you fix them all. That's what's really awesome.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you, Dr. Saunders, for sharing that. We've got the new and improved Diabetes Solution Kit with the new recipes. They're in this now. And so if you're already a customer, you can log into your ebook version and you'll see those recipes in your panel as well. And then if you want to get a printed copy, you can do that as well from bartonwebinar.com. So, well, let's transition to some questions. We always like to take questions from the audience and people that are with us live. So Leslie, let's hand things over to you and take it away.
I'm on. Okay. This comes up quite almost every one of our webinars. People wonder why their blood sugar is so high in the morning, even if they haven't eaten.
Okay. Yeah. We talk about this a lot. Okay. The blood sugar is not really a good way to measure it. It kind of gives you an idea of insulin resistance, but it's not the best way to follow how your diabetes is doing. Actually, insulin resistance is the best way, but you can't do that test all the time. So people monitor their blood sugar. And they go, gosh, I haven't had anything to eat, and I'm up to 120, or 150 or whatever. It's higher in the morning. What happens is you have more than one hormone that's regulating your blood sugar. And as your insulin drops down, your glucagon will go up, and that will tell your liver to make more sugar. And so your liver will take the glycogen storage, which is a starch, and start cutting off the sugars and sending sugar out into your body. And so without eating anything, your blood sugar starts going up. It's okay. In fact, it's good, because what that means is that your liver can make extra sugar. That means that'll use up all the excess sugar. Your fatty liver disease will go down, and your liver will regenerate, and things are becoming better. So that's part of the process, is that you allow that to just be what your body normally does. As the sugar drops down, you release glucagon. Glucagon says, hey, make more sugar, and the liver makes more sugar. It's good.
Okay, great. That was from Wendy. We have a question from Sir Charles. Hello and welcome back. Let's see. What should I shoot for as far as a good blood pressure reading?
Okay. Blood pressure. Boy, we should do a whole thing on blood pressure. The number is somewhat important. For blood pressure, if you have a constantly high blood pressure, it never comes down, you got a problem. If your blood pressure goes up when you're active or anxious or whatever, and then goes back down when you're resting and quiet, or certain times of the day, you'll notice that it's higher in the morning when you release all your cortisol and lower at night. Some people are higher at night for different reasons. So just looking at a number saying, I want my number to be this, is not a good way to look at blood pressure. You want variability. You want, when your brain needs more oxygen, more blood flow, you want your pressure to go up so that you can, push that blood up to your brain. You get more sugar or oxygen and everything into your brain. And when you're quiet and relaxed and resting and not thinking or whatever, you want it to go down and be low. So you want to have that variability. So the problem with hypertension is not that it goes up sometimes. The problem with hypertension is it's always way up there. So above, now they're saying 150. It used to be 150 was borderline, 160 is high. But if your blood pressure is usually between systolic 100 and 150, somewhere in there, 120 over 80 is a great, normal average resting quiet blood pressure. You're muted.
Okay, there we go. Robert is asking, what are your thoughts on atorvastatin?
Atorvastatin.
There you go. That's what I said.
Okay. Lipitor.
Yeah.
It's Lipitor. Atorvastatin is a great medication for people who have familial hypercholesterolemia. So there are a few people who should take it. And otherwise, it should be something that would be avoided. There would be a better way to have a normal cholesterol, have a good cholesterol level of around 220 without taking a medication for most people.
Okay, here's just a fun note from Teresa. She says, Dr. Saunders, put a layer of lemon oil on your shower doors and leave it there. The lemon oil will eat through the calcium. If they are really bad, this will work. So, fun little note for all of us to try.
Ooh, lemon oil. Okay.
Oil, but okay. Paul, what can be done with diet and supplements for Saunders syndrome? I'm pronouncing that wrong.
Sjogren's.
Okay.
Okay. Very interesting. Gosh, we do a whole webinar on Sjogren's syndrome. So Sjogren's syndrome is an inflammatory condition. It's not really a disease, and all it means is that you have dryness. So your tears are dried up, your saliva is dried up, your glands are dried up. And so you don't make enough saliva to like, eating is hard, because if you don't make very much saliva, it's hard to get the food down, it's hard to chew it up and get the food down. If your eyes are dry all the time, people putting drops in their eyes all the time because they don't make tears. And sometimes it's an autoimmune problem where you have antibodies against your own tear glands, against the glands, including salivary glands, that prevent it from making what they would normally make. So what can you do about it? Well, lowering inflammation and going on a autoimmune, what they call an autoimmune diet. An autoimmune diet is essentially fresh everything. You just eat fresh stuff only, and it works pretty well. I've had people with long-term Sjogren's actually reverse it with just the autoimmune diet. But things like turmeric and boswellia are two herbs that can help lower that inflammation and improve the function of the glands.
Very good. Question about CinnaChroma. Taking CinnaChroma daily, is it correct that after 3 months of taking, do you then only take it 2 days a week instead of daily? Thank you.
Yes, you could. It doesn't have to be 3 months. Generally, 3 months is sort of a guideline for normal people. So people who don't have diabetes, for example, who are metabolically fine, yeah, take it for 3 months, and then take it several times, a couple times a week after that. And what that does is gives you adequate amounts of vitamin D, vitamin K, selenium, vanadium, and chromium, which are deficient in almost everybody's diet in the United States, and you can't get them in food very well. So that's a decent as a supplement. Now, if you still have issues with blood sugar, you can continue taking it once, even 2 a day, for as long as you need to, as long as your blood sugar is elevated. Once you're on phase 3 in the book, and where you have normal blood sugars, yeah, you can go down to 2 or 3 times a week.
Okay. Another question about Nervala. How often per week should, oh, wait a minute. That was the wrong one. No, that is right. How often per week should Nervala be taken? If taken every day, is there a length of time that Nervala can be reduced to, say, 3 times a week?
Yeah, I suppose it can. I don't, for people that have neuropathy, I would look at it like, if I had neuropathy, I would say, I have an issue, a nerve issue. And I don't want that to come back. So if I took Nervala and my nerve issue went away, I don't think I would just throw it out and go, oh, I never need that again. I would say there was a reason why this happened in the first place. And yes, it has something to do with the diabetes, but it has other things to do with the circulation, for example. And so in order to not have problems in the future, I would take it several times a week, even after the neuropathy was cured. So it isn't a specific time like, oh, you do it for 3 months. It's like, do I need this? Am I still getting any numbness, tingling, pins and needles, or signs of neuropathy in my feet, hands? If so, then continue it. If not, then yeah, you can go to 2 or 3 times a week. Easy.
Okay. And a reminder, you can find these supplements at bartonwebinar.com. Another question here from Martha. What is the name of the study about cholesterol that Dr. Saunders held up showing the J curve? And where could we read this online?
Okay. Nature. Let's see. It tells you on there. On 7th February 2019, Nature.
What is Nature? Is that the name of a journal or something?
Yeah. That's an old science journal. It's been around for many, many years. Yeah.
I'm writing it down for everyone here so they can find it. Okay. All right. Good question. Let's see. We have another question. I had a recent blood test and my glucose was 4.8, but my A1C was 7.7. I'm staying off sugars and high carbs. What else can I do to lower my A1C?
Okay. The A1C is average blood sugar over a period of about 3 months, because the hemoglobin molecule in the red blood cells lasts for about 3 months in the blood. So it kind of gives sort of an average. So if you want to lower your hemoglobin A1C, the blood sugar has to be lowered, because that's what's happening, is sugar is attaching to those hemoglobin molecules, and that's what they're measuring. So in order to lower that, then the blood sugar needs to be lowered. And the way to do that is by not eating anything with sugar in it. So go back to phase 1 of the diabetes diabetes solution kit. Go to phase 1 and continue that part until your hemoglobin A1C is down below, ideally 6.5. If you can be in the 5.5 range, that would be awesome.
Okay. Anonymous attendee, can you take too many vitamins or does your body just use what it needs?
Okay, both are true. So yes, you can take too many, and yes, your body will just use what it needs. So usually water-soluble vitamins, if you took like a whole bunch of vitamin B12, you could pretty much be sure you're going to collect all of that vitamin B12 in your urine the next day, if you wanted to collect it over the next 24 hours. Other water-soluble vitamins, minerals like iodine, for example, that's how they know that you have adequate levels of iodine, is by giving you a huge dose, 50 milligrams, and then collecting in the urine and expecting that you're going to get 50 milligrams out the next day. So yes, you pee it out, but can you get too much? Yes, you can get too much of a lot of different vitamins. Vitamin D, you can overdose on. It's not as easy as they say. It's kind of hard, but you can. And the other part is, if you're taking too much of one, then you might inhibit another one. And this is very common with amino acids and minerals, because like calcium and magnesium compete for absorption. So if you're taking calcium all the time, then you're going to have a hard time absorbing magnesium, and you're going to easily get deficient in magnesium. If you're taking copper, then you won't get zinc. Or if you're taking zinc, you're not going to get copper. And if you take zinc and copper, then you might get a little of each. But because the zinc is so much more than the copper, you tend to just not get the copper if you're taking the zinc with copper together. So yes, you can get too much. You can get too much of anything. And so that's why I advocate, if you're taking supplements, take them separately on different days, and then rotate them. Do them at different times, and don't take the same thing every single day.
Okay, so then this is a good question to follow up with that. Let's see if I can find it. I think it was from Krish. Is there a problem taking the 4 below after breakfast? Nervala, turmeric, ashwagandha, and a probiotic. And can magnesium be included too with the above items?
Let's see. Yes and yes. Yes, those can be taken. Those can be taken with food after breakfast. That's fine. And magnesium can be added. Magnesium isn't going to inhibit either of the minerals in the CinnaChroma, and it won't affect Nervala at all, or turmeric. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, magnesium can be added to that.
Okay.
No
and
problem.
ashwagandha is good with those?
Oh yeah, and ashwagandha is fine too, yes.
Okay, great. Krish also asked, is Gymnema safe?
Gymnema sylvestre.
Yes, there's conflicting information on the internet. You guys, I just want to throw this out there. You do realize I am trying to pronounce all of these words in front of all of these viewers. I feel like it's a lot of pressure, guys.
I think that's why they're posting these.
I think so too. And I think that's why Joe's having me ask all the Q&A questions. No, this is good. I enjoy learning them, and I'm okay with pronouncing it terribly. It's fine.
Hey, here's a quick sidebar. This is an easy one for you to pronounce. Easy Relief Magnesium. So magnesium has come up quite a bit on today's call, and I just posted a link. So we have this product, and you can read all about it. There's a super good, it's a long page, but it explains how magnesium works in our bodies, and especially for people with type 2. Talks about insulin's twin and all that. So if we can post that on Facebook, post it on the chat, post it on YouTube, people can read about magnesium. Let's just say today's webinar is sponsored by Easy Relief Magnesium. You can get yours today. And we have special pricing, of course. Okay, thanks. Back to the questions. Send Leslie more hard names to pronounce too. That's kind of fun to see her.
Hey, there was one time when I did just copy it and I sent it to Dr. Saunders privately and said, here you go. Can you read this question?
Yeah. Okay, what was the one about the Gymnema sylvestre?
Yes, I believe, let's see. Chris wanted to know if that was safe. There's a lot of conflicting information out there.
Yes, there is. Okay, it's been used for many years. Safety isn't an issue with Gymnema sylvestre. It does help to lower blood sugar, probably by making your body more sensitive to insulin. So it's useful. And there's other ones that usually come with it, like bitter melon and ashwagandha and some ginseng, things that lower stress hormone levels so that you're not so resistant to insulin. So there's other ways that the herbs work, but Gymnema sylvestre has been used for many years. The reason we didn't include it is because the cinnamon did what we wanted to make you sensitive to the insulin. And these are for short-term use. Something like Gymnema you would use for short-term. It's not really for long-term use, whereas you can take the cinnamon more long-term.
Okay, well, Teresa, my best friend, said that I was doing wonderful and I was the best looking of all three. So, Teresa,
hey, wait a minute.
I'm highly offended, Teresa.
oh, my day is made. You're the best. Oh,
I have to agree.
Teresa says, get over it. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's fine. It's fine. Let's see. We have more questions. Oh, wow. We are flying through the time here. Okay. Really fast. Are there blood tests to check arteries clogging, or how do you check the status of the condition of your arteries?
Okay. So if you have questions about that, there are several things that I often recommend. There's a group that does ultrasounds and they go around in trucks and they do ultrasounds, and they're really good. And it's like a lifeline screening is one that we have in California. And I know they're in other parts of the country too. But these people that do ultrasound screenings, they're actually pretty good. And, you know, they do hundreds of them and thousands of them. And so they get really good at it. And so they can tell right off if you have any clogging of your arteries. And that is risk-free, except, you know, it costs like $150. But aside from that, it's there's no risk associated with doing an ultrasound. It's sound waves. The other way of doing it, the thing that I usually do is I'll order a coronary CT calcium score. And the coronary calcium score is actually really good for seeing if you have calcium deposits in your arteries. So they do a CAT scan, but it's like on a flash mode so that it gets the heart at a certain part. It's the stop action of the heart. And then they can look at all the arteries in the heart and they can tell where the calcium deposits are, because it's an X-ray and the calcium will absorb the X-rays. So, and then they give a score and they actually say, you know, from 1 to 100 is considered normal. 0 is perfect. And I've had a lot of people with 0. But I had somebody whose number was 1200, which is 12 times the upper limit of normal. And they said, boy, you know, if you don't have your artery bypass surgery within a month, you're going to die. And so he decided he was going to fast, and he did a 30-day water-only fast. And by the end of 30 days, he was playing tennis with no chest pain at all. Anyway, cleared out his arteries in 30 days. Amazing.
All right, Joe, how many more questions did I do?
Coronary CT calcium score. That was the short answer.
I think we've got time for 2 more. How's that sound?
Okay. Paul says, how should we use berberine?
Berberine is also one of those. It's an herb, and it depends on how it comes. Berberine comes in various forms. There's extracts or the standard herb. So when you do berberine, you're going to have to do it according to the label on the instructions on how it comes, because it's going to be different. And usually that comes with something like bitter melon and other herbs to lower blood sugar.
Okay. Inez is asking, how do you get rid of a large belly?
Suck it in.
Oh, okay. Suck it up, dude. Okay. The belly fat comes from insulin. So if your insulin is high, you're going to get belly fat. And if you've ever seen people who drink beer, and they have skinny arms, they're really skinny legs and a big old belly, that's because of the insulin that's being released constantly that's putting on the belly fat, but they don't have enough calories to get fat all over their body. So they just make that belly fat. And no matter what, even if they're not getting enough calories, they're going to make the belly fat. So insulin is what does that. That's the hormone that does that. So the way you get rid of the belly fat is to get rid of the insulin. In fact, I had a CrossFit coach who came to me and he said, dude, I know you work with this stuff, and I got a question for you. He said, I work out all day long. I'm doing abdominals, I'm doing crunches, I'm doing everything I can, and I just can't get rid of this poochy belly. What the heck? And I said, okay, what do you do when you go home? He goes, oh, I have my protein shake. And he told me everything that was in it. It was a huge protein shake with vegetables and fruit and like extra scoops of protein powder and all that. And I said, okay, get rid of that. Don't eat anything after 6, and do your protein shake in the morning instead of at night. In the morning before you go in, instead of in the evening when you get home. And don't eat anything when you get home. And within months, he said it was gone down and he was better. It didn't take that long.
Awesome. A quick note, Martha is recommending the Netflix film Kiss the Earth, just talking about how modern farming has lost minerals, and talking about new techniques to make sure that you're retaining minerals in farming, etc. So kind of fun. Okay, I think that is about it.
Yeah. Well, this is one of the highest attended webinars we've had. So thanks everybody for joining us, and a lot of great information as always. If you want to watch previous episodes of our webinars, you can go to bartonwebinar.com and then find our link to the YouTube channel. And I think it's called Barton Publishing TV or webinars or something like that.
Webinars.
Yeah, on YouTube. Yeah, so you can subscribe and watch other videos. You could probably watch 65 to 70 hours straight of webinars of Dr. Saunders. That will probably get you to Thursday.
Oh, heaven forbid.
Well, Leslie, you have a fun little story to share of your daughter. I think that'd be a good way to close this out.
Oh, it was so cute. So we recently moved to an acreage, and we've gotten some kittens. We actually rescued some kittens to mix with our existing cats to help with the mice population here mainly. But anyway, they got kind of sick. I was talking to the kids about how sometimes they get hypoglycemia or low blood sugar. And my daughter, who is 8, said to me, Mom, you really need to watch Joe's videos because I think he would recommend cinnamon for my little kittens. So it's super cute, which is true. So you better watch Joe's videos, guys.
Yeah, that's good stuff. All right, Dr. Saunders, if you can give us a last word and close us out, a recap of today's call. Thank you.
Okay, so don't forget, cholesterol is not what they say it is. That the big picture of cholesterol is there is an optimum range, and it's right around 220, 225, somewhere in there. So if you look at your numbers and you find your cholesterol is around 225, then you know that you're in the right range. And if not, if it's like higher than that, then a higher fiber diet is going to be very helpful, and maybe even a supplement of niacin to raise the HDL, or to change that HDL to cholesterol ratio.
All right. Great. Thanks again. Thanks for everything. Thanks for joining us. Have a great rest of your week. And God bless. We'll see you next time.